Ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 season is finally upon us, and it's time to put my neck on the line and give us season predictions. And the one place there is to start, it's only one place to start, and it's the world champion for the season, and I'm going for Lewis Hamilton, 8-time drivers world champion, coming out of the black corner in that fantastically looking black Mercedes. I think this year is the year they're going to get the car right and they're going to be P1 baby. Sorry Max fans and Charles fans, I think it's going to be a really tight fight for the title this year. I'm hoping for a three-way battle. Red Bull just ran away with it last season despite an early season charge from Ferrari, but I'm hoping they got on top of their engine issues. They can tune that engine up to max power and we'll get a real battle. Mercedes pulled it back from out of the garbage bin last season and managed to get a race win in that junk. And for me, I think this season they're going to absolutely nail the car. They'll fix the issues because they said it was a fundamental issue with the car, and I think they've fixed that, and that's why they've stuck with the concept that they had last season. They managed to get to grips with it. It was fast at the end of the season, comfortably second place behind the Red Bulls, and we're really quite close. I'm expecting them to really be in a tight fight with the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, and that's why you might be thinking it'll be second place with Max Verstappen, but I'm thinking the Ferraris are going to come back fighting this season. With the change at the top, it might be what they need to iron out the issues and the what was quite glaringly obvious that they had issues with the strategies. They had A to F in a list of, whatever strategy calls, and they still got them wrong. Hopefully we won't get Charles Leclerc on wet tyres in Bahrain, now that I've just said that. But Ferrari are going to come back fighting, and I think Mercedes will nick it with Lewis Hamilton. He'll come out of the block fine, he'll be consistent, and he'll be right on it this season to get that 8th world title back. I think he knew the car was a dog that put him down early on this season, and he came back strong last season towards the end. He's got the momentum going into this season, and it'll be a tight battle with them two in the Mercedes, taking points off each other, but I think Mercedes will just have enough, and Lewis Hamilton will have enough to get that 8th world title. I've got second place going to Charles Leclerc, bumping Max down to third place. Don't shoot me, Red Bull fans. That's just what I think will happen. And I think it'll be super close up at the front with that one. But there we go. The Constructors titles. Mercedes will get that one. Their driver powering up the front, I think they've got the best two. I don't know, it's very tight with the two Ferraris, but I think with Mercedes having the best car for the season, I'm going to have to go with them winning the Constructors, and Lewis and George really absolutely being mega all season, and getting enough points on the board for them. Ferrari second, and I think that'll be with Charles Leclerc leading that team. Sainz, brilliant driver, but I still think Charles Leclerc's got something special, and he'll be leading the team on that one. Red Bull will be the team in third place. Max Verstappen, I don't know how I'm betting against him so badly, to be honest. It's going to really come back me in the backside, I've got a feeling, and it'll be Max Verstappen with a third world title in as many seasons. Because he's absolutely on fire. He was mega last season. Some of the races just beyond the car, it was just him, raw talent, and he had something that Sergio didn't, and he's a mega driver, you can't argue with that. But I'm going to go for Red Bull in being third, and then we're going to go with Alpine in the slightly blue and the pink that they're going to have for a few races, and I've got Ocon beating his teammate Pierre Gasly. Ocon having experience with the team, Gasly being the new guy in, I think Ocon will have enough in him. And his last season with Alonso took him to a place where I'm not sure Gasly will push him that far, but I think it'll be a mega challenge with them two. And Ocon's shown his mettle. He was really good, even with his battles with Alonso last season. So I think that'll be where it's gone. And then we've got the Aston Martin Green coming up in 5th place. I think they'll be the team that'll jump up massively this season. They had a brilliant season last season, finishing joint 6th place, although they were 7th. But joint on points with Alfa Romeo. But I think they've got the team and the investment. And Fernando Alonso, who for me is probably one of the top 3 drivers on the field in that car, will really push that team to an absolute another level. I think from that it's going to be a poor season for the McLarens in their beautiful orange car. We're already not hearing good news coming out of their camp, even at the launch, where all you want is positivity, and it's not good news or reading from McLaren fans when they're saying we've not got the car we want, but hopefully they'll come good at the end of the season. Now their prediction for that is really that they've got a wind tunnel and new simulators in line for sort of the middle of this year, so fairly early on. But we've seen, like we had with Ferrari, had issues with correlation, and Mercedes in the Ross Brawn era where he was there, that they really struggled getting the correlation of what they saw in the wind tunnel out on track. And I think that'll be McLaren's big problem. Yes, they've got the equipment there, they'll have the gear, but I think that sets them up brilliantly well. And if they start off poor this season, and they might fundamentally go for a reshuffle and really focus their energies and resources on next season, kind of like what Ferrari did last season. And that's why I think Ferrari will be mega this season, but we're talking about McLaren here. And I think Lando Norris will have enough over Oscar Piastri, but I think Oscar's got something special, and I really think he'll bring something and a real fight to Norris, and them two could really drive McLaren further up than they should be, but I think we'll see not such a great season from McLaren this season. I've got Haas improving quite big, going up into 7th. I'm hoping that Ferrari get their engine issues sorted, and if they can give that max power, and the Haas was absolutely brilliant at the start of the season until the engine issues cropped up, and we've seen them falling back. But they're now got big sponsors, big money coming in, and so hopefully they'll be able to keep that development rate up throughout the whole season, and really get given the drive. And I've got Nico Hülkenberg being the surprise driver for me, leading that team, and he'll beat his teammate, more experienced guy, Kevin Magnussen. I don't forget him. Mega lap. I mean, they've come from some real momentum last season. Towards the end of the season, I mean, they got their first pole in Brazil, which was absolutely brilliant. And I'm hoping for some fairy stories again from Haas this season. AlphaTauri in their blue and white. I quite really like the look of their car this year, and I don't think it'll be as big a step up. They should move off from 9th place, but will they have enough? There wasn't anything in that car that really excited me from what I've seen early on, so I'm thinking they'll finish in 6th place, and I think it'll be Nick De Vries will be the surprise package on that one. Their driver lineup is what really thinks might struggle. 2 really new drivers in that team, Yuki and Nick. They've gone for sort of what Haas had last season, with really 2, at the start of the season before Nikita Mazepin got dropped, of 2 really young, unexperienced drivers, and it didn't really pay for Haas, did they? They've gone for 2 experience this year, so we're seeing the opposite flip on AlphaTauri's shoes. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. I've got Alfa Romeo in 9th, and I see Bottas absolutely killing it on that one again, outperforming his teammate. I just didn't see enough of what Alfa Romeo were so excited about with Joe Guanzu, to be honest with you. So I think it'll be a tough season for him. They really did rave on him last season, but I don't think I saw anything special. And Bottas is a brilliant driver, but he's not a fantastic driver. A real solid guy, he can pull off the performance, but the car has to be right for them two to perform, in my view. None of them two drivers can pull off something where, like Fernando Alonso can do, give something that, you know, the car hasn't got. And they can pull off. I just don't see it with them two drivers. And sadly, yes, I see Williams again at the back of the field. Alex Albon being the star man there again. He will absolutely outclass Logan Sargeant. You know, Alex is a really, really brilliant driver. He came up through, you know, the Red Bull juniors. He even was in the first team in that Red Bull, and but for him getting taken out by Lewis Hamilton and sort of him missing out on some really brilliant results for them where he might have been able to retain his place. I think Logan's in for a hard time there at the Williams. The rookie of the season. We've got 3 rookies this year: Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, Nick De Vries in the AlphaTauri, and Logan Sargeant in the Williams. And for me, I think Oscar Piastri, just with what he's done coming up through the field, will be absolutely brilliant, and I think he's going to be my rookie of the year this year. The surprise team for me is going to be Aston Martin. They've recruited really quite well within their engineers. They've picked some guys from Red Bull, some from Ferrari, so I expect them to be doing really, really well. And the recruitment and getting Fernando Alonso in that team, I think it's really what they needed as a team. Someone that is elite, to really push them and drive them to that excellence and really push that team to show them what they can do. It might be one of them where we know Fernando, he wears his heart on his sleeves and, you know, shouting down the McLaren radio of a GP2 engine when Honda were really suffering. And his issues at McLaren, but he's got a real drive for being brilliant. And even at Alpine last season, he pulled off some absolutely mega drives and really drove that team forward. And I think he'll do the same at Aston Martin. The surprise driver for me is going to be Nico Hülkenberg. Not racing 2019, but he did put in some performances as a reserve in 2020, standing in for Vettel early on. And I think in this Haas, where there's not going to be that pressure on him, he's going to be the experienced head that they wanted. And I think in the right race, where it's all over the show, Haas coming off a brilliant season last season with the mega pole, I think Nico Hülkenberg, and this is really pushing it, is going to break his duck and finally get a podium in Formula 1 with the Haas team. And I think that would be absolutely mega if something like that happened. I would absolutely love it. But I think he'll be the surprise for me, because I feel like Nico Hülkenberg's always got this guy for being just coming in and being consistent. But I think he's got something in there. If he's in the right frame of mind, which I believe he will be, he's finally back in Formula 1. He's got this opportunity, and I think he'd be really up for it. And I'm hoping he can get that first pole or first podium place for him. The flop driver of the season is going to be Logan Sargeant in that Williams. I think he'll really struggle moving up to Formula 1. He's got a really experienced driver with Albon to really push him and test him, and I think he'll struggle. The flop team of the season for me is going to be McLaren. I mean, we already didn't hear positive news coming out of their launch, them saying already that they feel like they're behind the curve, the car is not where they want to be. They feel they've got some good upgrades coming for the early part of the season, but so will everyone else. The big thing for them is that they've got this wind tunnel in the pipeline and the simulator, but as we've seen with Mercedes in the Ross Brawn era, like I said, it takes time to see the correlation of that car, of what they see in the wind tunnel coming out on track, and I think they'll really struggle and dropping down the field, which will be a shame. But I think they've got really exciting driver pair with Lando Norris, as we know, was nearly on for a race win last season, didn't quite happen. And Oscar is a brilliant young talent, and I think he'll shine through, but I just don't think they'll have the car underneath them. The driver of the year for me has got to be Lewis Hamilton. He'll have to be absolutely on it. Mr. Consistency, Mr. Mega, and he's got it in him. He's a 7-time world champion, soon to be 8 by the end of the season. And he'll have to be absolutely consistent throughout the season and pick up the wins. And he's got a real battle with George Russell, who did really, really well last season. So he'll be raring to go in his second season in Mercedes to really stamp his authority and try and take some of that shine off Lewis Hamilton, who was absolutely mega in Mercedes for the last few years. But he'll be putting in performance. We know he's got it in him, and it'll have to be, because I see it being a 3-horse race for the title this season, and it will be the man who's the most consistent throughout the season to get this world title. The surprise winner for me, I've got it, other than anyone out of the top 3 teams, who I think all will win, by the way, or at least get one race win between them. Alonso in the Aston Martin. It'll be one of them crazy weekends, like I said, where we'll get Haas on the podium and we'll get Fernando Alonso win, and I think that would be absolutely insane. That's what we need from Fernando. I think that's what Formula 1 needs. It'll be absolutely brilliant to see him right up there at the peak, on the podium, in first place, a P1 win, and I think Aston Martin should have enough to do that, but who knows. That's it. I've put my neck on the line. Some really outlandish predictions there, I suppose, but you know, that's what it's all about. Bahrain, not far off now. Thank God we can finally get some Formula 1 action. It should be a really, really brilliant season this season, and I'm hoping for some mega things. Can't wait for the action to start. Let's get going. Lights out in Bahrain, not far away. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment. I'll see you in the next video.